Hello, my name is Tony. A deviation then from my usual. Running Blind was a 3-part espionage thriller drama produced by the BBC and screened on TV in 1979. To be more precise, it was produced by BBC Scotland. I remember seeing it at the time, enjoying it very much, and then gradually forgetting about it as it seemed to inexplicably drop right off the radar. In fact, until Bodie of CI5 suggested it as potential review material, I can't recall any mention of or reference to it in any meaningful way since around the time of its first airing, which is odd. I'm going to rectify that here and now, because Running Blind was really rather good. In fact, it's something of an exceptional classic piece of vintage TV that deserves much better than the near oblivion to which it has, for reasons unknown, been consigned. First problem, getting hold of a copy of the episodes to rewatch, and therefore refresh my increasingly erratic memory function. Is there a DVD version? No. Blu-ray? Oh, fuck no. In 1991, a VHS video version was released, a 120-minute edit of the 3 episodes, but copies are rare, the US version retailing online for around $90. As luck would have it, a transfer of the VHS can be found on YouTube, link provided below, and whilst I would have preferred watching the complete 3 episodes as God had intended, this had to suffice. Like all VHS transfers of tape broadcasts, the visual quality is as rough as a 70-year-old hooker's chuff in sandpaper knickers, but once you adjust your spoiled HD or 4K mind view to what's on the screen before you and let the story and action take hold, the visuals will cease to be very much of an issue. Patience is the key, settle into it. Running Blind is based on a 1970 novel by Desmond Bagley. Most of the TV version was filmed on location in Scotland and Iceland, which lends it a pleasing look of geographical authenticity. Cutting to the chase, the narrative focuses on an ex-MI6 operative, Ian Stewart, retired to his family pile in the Highlands. His ex-boss, Slade, turns up and blackmails him into undertaking a mission to deliver a package in Iceland. Stewart has connections in Iceland. He owns an apartment there in which Ellen, his girlfriend, lives, and he has lived and worked in the country previously. It should be a simple job, but from the off he is faced with KGB hitmen, CIA operatives, and even his own people, all out to punch his clock. Much of the action has Stewart and Ellen chased through the barren splendour of the Icelandic landscape in a Land Rover, pursued by their adversaries, not least of whom is a KGB agent called Kennekin, who is on a personal revenge mission against Stewart, who once shot him and deprived him of any sexual relations for the remainder of his life. A high-velocity rifle bullet to the nuts will do that, I understand, but then Kennekin's face alone would have much the same effect, you'd imagine. It's a nifty construct of action sequences, chases, fights, killings, twists, cross, double cross and mystery, and it all fits together into a great little package. One that I thoroughly enjoyed revisiting, even in its visually compromised and pared down format. But will you? Sit tight and listen keenly to find out. There are no major stars here, but there are some actors of note. Ian Stewart is played by Stuart Wilson. Wilson was more of a supporting character actor in films and TV shows than a regular lead-in man, but his resume went on to include appearances in movies such as Lethal Weapon 3, The Mask of Zorro, Vertical Limit and Hot Fuzz. He gives a good account of himself here as a character who shares some of the same traits as Lee Child's later Jack Reacher creation. Stewart is confident and lethal, not unduly averse to physically assaulting, shooting, killing others, or stabbing them with his skeen-do, single-bladed Scottish ankle knife. He can be a cold and ruthless protagonist whilst having something of a moral code, notion of right and wrong, along with a scant regard for authority figures. Whether dumping bodies down crevasses or waterfalls or protecting his beloved girlfriend, he does so with clinical efficiency and composure. Coincidentally, Child's 4th Reacher novel was titled Running Blind. Stewart's loyal girlfriend, Ellen, is played by... I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this name, it's on screen there, so feel free to have a go yourself. She's pretty and decorative and a bit wooden, but fits the bill as the standard love interest and kidnapped victim in waiting. Villainous antagonists are George Sewell and Vladek Sheybal as Slade and Kennekin respectively, both hitting just the right bad guy notes and invoking those appropriate mental boos and hisses responses in the viewer. They are not nice people, and you really want Stewart to succeed in kicking their asses. There's a great scene when Stewart holds holds Slade at gunpoint in his hotel room, and Slade confidently accuses Stewart of being too sentimental and soft to kill him. Stewart shoots him through the hand at point-blank range, and the look of abject shock and surprise on Slade's face is priceless. The scenery, barren volcanic plateau, ice fields, rivers, hot springs, fjords and waterfalls, is almost a character in itself. It provides a terrific impression of otherworldliness, of vulnerable figures traversing an alien terrain where they are dangerously exposed to the elements and attack. Sadly, the VHS transfer doesn't do it the full visual justice it deserves. The music by Christopher Gunning, he scored Hands of the Ripper for Hammer, is fucking dreadful. Luckily though, it's not too intrusive, so you can pretty much filter it out. Script and dialogue by Jack Gerson sits on a par with many of the action-centric TV shows of the 70s, like The Professionals or The Sweeney. It's a serviceable piece of work and doesn't get bogged down in exposition or unnecessary frippery. Stewart has a nice line in terse, verbally expressed cynicism, which befits the character and his situation. On the whole, I would rate it as exceptional, in that it holds up remarkably well as a Cold War espionage thriller even today. Although not explicit, the violence has some power, for Stewart dispenses it like it's an arbitrary component of his day job, a necessary evil, a means of survival. You'll root for him, even though in some respects he's not much better than the people he's up against. But then I suppose that war, in any form, makes enemies of us all. Jesus, that was almost philosophical. I must get out more. If you're a fan of stuff like Callan, if you like spy thrillers, if you feel like something set in an environment off the beaten track that isn't a slave to glamour and style, and if you like a pacey story well told, dial down your visual expectations to low, sit back and give it 10 to 20 minutes of your time. If by then it hasn't hooked you in, you can always switch it off. But if it has, I think you'll enjoy it. Personally, I'd like to see the BBC put out at the very least a remastered DVD version of all the original episodes, but ideally a Blu-ray incarnation. It's too good to be left on the shelf. Do it some justice. I don't think there's anything in there to offend the woke flakes, and if there is, all the more reason, I say. I shall apologise now for the visual quality of the images in this video. Or, wait a minute, perhaps I won't, because it's not my fault. Well, not all my fault. I had to work with what I could lay my hands on. So sue me. Thank you for your time and attention. Usual stuff about liking, not liking, commenting, subscribing, notifications, etc. And meanwhile, nope, no song. Well, there's a change. Possibly for the better. Catch you next time, pilgrims.